Hi, friends. So, this is unscripted. I'm gonna ramble, because when I tried to script, I couldn't. And it's just me and the webcam because it's too hot to set up the lights and camera. So I need to talk about something I read yesterday. And I couldn't possibly put stronger content warning on this whole thing for not just fat phobia, anti-fat bias, but hate. I mean, this is hate. So last night I read The Whale, the play by Samuel D. Hunter. I read it because yesterday news came out about the film adaptation that Brenden Fraser is starring in. That's being produced by A24, who are usually really good, but yeah. And all these articles about the transformation that Fraser has gone through to play this role. It is a fat suit role, and it is also, he put on a lot of weight to play this role. Which really, deliberately gaining weight is not a good idea. And it's not helping us for as fat people. Please, actors, don't do that. Especially not no. It won't give you an understanding of what it's like to actually live as a fat person. But of course, the papers are varieties talking about this amazing transformation and all that, because that's what they do. Hollywood has this unhealthy obsession with having straight, white, able-bodied actors dress up as marginalized people. Think Danish Girl, any number of films about people who are disabled. Eddie Redmayne has done a couple of these. And the Oscars go crazy for it. So they keep doing this. And that's why I decided to read the play. Because I was going to make a video about that, about the fact that Hollywood does that. And sort of connect it to the fat suit video that I've already made. And then I read it. And then I didn't sleep. Yeah, I was triggered. In the PTSD sense. And I tried to do the writing it out thing, but it wasn't working. So I'm gonna talk to camera and see if I can make something out of this in the edit. So this is a play about, and they keep putting this in the descriptions and in the synopsis and everything. It is about a 600-pound recluse who is eating himself to death. That is the framework that they phrase it as in play, in all the literature about it. So doesn't that sound like a great place to start? And of course, it's usually played by an actor in a fat suit, who's really going to understand what it's like to actually live as a fat person. And the writer was thin. So, and it's important that this is a story about a gay man. And this is, fat is sort of the physical embodiment of self-loathing and the trauma, that the way that religious institutions suffocate gay people. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to read as a fat person, and exactly how we want people to be thinking about fatness. Yeah, totally. What a great... Okay. I'll tell you the synopsis of the play. So Charlie, the 600-pound suffering from obesity, because we love that framework, guy, he's introduced, his almost his first scene is he has a cardiac event while masturbating to gay porn. So that's exactly how you want to introduce a character. So he is, as they say, eating himself to death. He refuses to go to the hospital. Throughout the entire film, he refuses to go to the hospital, play, whatever. And the reason he is doing this, the source of his depression, is that the man he loved, Alan, he also gave up on himself. In this case, he stopped eating because of his religious trauma from his Uber Mormon father. One of the other main characters in the play is Alan's sister, who is a nurse who cares for Charlie, tries to make him go to the hospital repeatedly, and also bringing him food, and also at several points in the film frames this as being something he's doing to her. She says in one scene, "How can you do this to me?" As in, because she found her brother. So he is not... The playwright is not subtly reminding us that these are two parallels of each other, and that the sister is, the one left to deal with everything. The play is not subtle, not at all. The reason it's called The Whale is because there are frequent allusions to Moby Dick throughout the film, to the point where there is a repeated theme of an essay that talks about how sad Moby Dick is, and about the losing his life to this hunt for the whale. And that essay was written by Ellie, who is Charlie's daughter, one of the other main characters in the main relationship in this play. She is a really, really horrible, horrible human being. She's also 17, so sometimes people are horrible at 17. And he has not seen her since she was a toddler, when he left the family to go be with Alan. And one of the ways we know that she is a horrible person is because she uses the R slur repeatedly and repeatedly, like I lost count. And this was written in 2012, so yeah. I don't know what to say about that. I sure as shit hope they're not putting that in the film. And the other thing that she does is call Charlie disgusting. A lot. Everyone in the play, it seems, has to talk about his body and how they find it disgusting. Yeah. monstrous, etc., etc. And Charlie's response to all this is to agree. Yeah. So this is a play about self-loathing, about queer self-loathing, and that is expressed visually through fat, because fat is a thing that this writer hates. It is so palatable that this writer does not see fat people as humans. Yeah. I mean, you can tell by the title. It's just an awful thing to read. As a fat person, this person who wrote this has never thought for one fucking second about what this might feel like to read as a fat person. And that is coming from a gay writer who knows what it is like to be hated and has never considered what it might be like as a person from a marginalized group, from a different marginalized group to his own, might be like to read something that is hateful towards that group. This man needs to be deeply ashamed of himself. And not because he's gay. I'm queer. That's not a thing to be ashamed of. That's a thing to celebrate. And I'm sorry for whoever made him think that it was a thing to be ashamed of, but by God, he does not get to use my body and bodies like mine as a way to express that, to work through that. No, you don't fucking do that. I'm sorry. Was that rage? Sorry. We're not supposed to show our rage. That might take up too much space. God damn it. This. And boy, does it hurt to see this celebrated. This won a GLAAD award. I'm sorry for my anger. I lost my temper. I tried to be, I try not to do that. But this really upset me. It's really, I talk a lot about representation on my channel. It's what I studied, how marginalized people are represented. That was a big part of my studies. And you might think that not being represented is the worst thing. Because I think people are starting to understand why we want to be represented, why we want to see ourselves in stories. All of us, marginalized people included. But there is one thing that is worse than not being represented, and that is being misrepresented in a stigmatizing way. That is seeing yourself, representations of yourself be dehumanized. And this, I mean, what could be more dehumanizing than being compared to whales? I mean, that is something that a lot of fat people have experienced. We've been called things like that repeatedly. And this narrative that fat people are eating themselves to death. In a number of my videos talking about fatness, I have to deal with comments with people not just saying that I'm going to die, but saying it with their whole chest, saying it with glee. Any fat person who dares to be present on the internet has to deal with a whole lot of, you're going to die, right? You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die. Oh God, this is never going to be monetized. Like, oh, listen to her breathing. She's going to die. Listen to this. They're going to die. They're going to die before they're 40. I'm 42. They're going to die. It's just on and on and on and on from the time that we're children. And not just from assholes on the internet. The medical establishment tells us that again and again and again and again. The press tells us that, especially those of us who've been living through the obesity epidemic narrative of the last few decades. Just constantly saying that we are going to die and that we are bringing it in on ourselves. Lose weight or die, lose weight or die, lose weight or die. The reality, if you don't know, is that actually a lot of intentional weight loss can cause more damage than just being fat. And in fact, intentional weight loss is one of the strongest predictors of weight gain, because you restrict and then your body does I don't have the science right at my fingertips, but 96-97% of diets fail, and a lot of those end up gaining more weight. It's because intentional weight loss, the restrictions often mess with your body's systems, and it finds a new set point. And this is my own experience. I have lost more weight than I weigh. The last time I lost 150 pounds. Thankfully that didn't all come back, and thankfully that didn't add more. But it has, it was... it didn't last, because it doesn't, no matter, and they'll say that that's our own fault, that we, don't comply. But no, actually, that happens even if you are sticking to it. And yes, some people succeed. Very occasionally, some people succeed. But, we live with this constant narrative that, that we are going to die and it's our own fault. Even though absolutely everything and everyone who has ever lived will die. That is kind of the nature of the thing. So narratives like this, talking about, even the word obesity means eating yourself to death. And so this is incredibly stigmatizing misinformation that this narrative is built on. It hurts my heart that this is coming from a queer person too. Have you not had umpteen million people tell you that, being gay meant you were gonna get AIDS and die, and that it would be your own fault? Which is also a disgusting stigmatizing lie. The utter the stunning lack of empathy. It just, I am struggling to form words. This is just incredibly hateful. It's a hateful way to portray people who are not you. You do not know what it's like to be fat. And you do not know what it's like to live with people calling you whale, and that more people will do that. As a result of this film, more people are going to, people who are, all of us fat people are going to have to live with more of these headlines because of this film. And I don't know what possessed Brenden Fraser to be a part of this project. He seems like such a lovely man. I like everybody. Like, I was a fan of his. I loved. The Mummy is one of the few Indiana Jones type films that I actually like as an Egyptian person. And like, he has done a lot of, I even saw Monkey Bone in the theater. Like, I was a big fan of Brenden Fraser, so I don't understand why he's attached himself to this. I don't know. I'm trying to make my feelings make into some kind of sense. But I'm not succeeding. And as much as I was upset by this, I'm also can't help but think about what it would be like for gay men to watch this film. Fat gay men. And I'm not a gay man, so I can't really speak to that. I just know that it is something I have watched all of my gay male friends deal with over my lifetime, is the just incredibly strict beauty standards. And I know that there is a lot of eating disorder problems in the gay community. And narratives like this are not at all helpful to that. And it's not just that. Like, this is a story of gay self-loathing. Do we need more stories of gay self-loathing? Is that what we need? More stories of queer people hating themselves? It's misery porn. Because I don't think that most queer people actually want to watch stories of self-loathing. I don't want to, as a bi person, I don't want to watch a film about bi people hating themselves. And I certainly, one that ends like with them surrendering to it, and for the benefit of a straight person. Well, I mean, we don't know for certain that the kid is straight, but the triumph of the film is the daughter being a slightly less shitty person. But yeah, that is definitely not something I want in my queer media. That is not something that is a trend in queer media. Like, none of us. This is straight people media. This is queer misery for straight entertainment. Like, education. I mean, is it supposed to be educational? Like, do Do you need to be told that that hating queer people results in queer people having trauma? I don't understand. And like Hollywood has this obsession with making films that dwell on the misery of marginalized people. Misery that, you know, on pain and suffering that comes from being marginalized. And even better if it's a traditional Hollywood actor who has done a transformation to become this person. And it's always from the outside looking in. It's always from the straight gaze, from the thin gaze, from the default setting gaze. And it's like, so they can pat each other on the back for having made something that made people think about these, you know, these poor queer people, these poor disabled people. They do this a lot for disabled people. And, you know, yeah. The Danish girl kind of thing for trans representation. And it's, like, I don't know, do straight, cis-het, straight, able-bodied people need to be, like, lessons in empathy? But it's never empathy. It's always pity. And inspiration porn, too. Like, be inspired. You know, be so happy that you're not Charlie. And I'm tired of you know, experiences and bodies and of all of us who are not the default settings being used for, you know, prestige films and to pat each other on the back that, oh, didn't he do a great transformation? And oh, doesn't it make you think? It's shit. I try really hard to believe that most people have good intentions. I'm not naive. It's good intentions mixed with a lot of laziness and a lot of internalized bias, both of which get in the way of the good intentions. But I choose to believe in the good intentions, not as an excuse for harm, because impact always matters more than intention. Because to believe that people have good intentions is to believe that maybe some people can deal with their internalized bias and their intellectual laziness and do better someday. And I have to believe that because you have to live in this world. I think you have to choose to believe in the possibility of better. Like, what is the other option? Like, as to the intentions of the writer and the makers of this, like, I cannot envision that they had good intentions towards fat people. I'm not even sure this is pity. There is a loathing in this. I mean, what is it to be used as the embodiment of someone else's self-loathing? To be someone else's nightmare. That's part of the experience of being a fat person, especially a public facing in any way, is to be the embodiment of other people's fears. There's a comment I had in one video, which wasn't the usual sort of "you're going to die," But there was someone actually saying, well, let me be honest, I do actually fear becoming you. These are all the ways I've hurt myself to avoid becoming you. Someone thought that that was an okay thing to say to someone. Just like someone thought this was an okay play to write. Maybe people do need a lesson in empathy. But this is not how you do that. So I don't know how to end this. God, I wish this hadn't been made into a film. I wish they'd stop making films like this. So, yeah, to my fellow fat people, if you made it through this, probably this discussion was triggering enough. I don't read this play, even as like research. And thin people, like, don't go to this film. And maybe when you see press around it, you'll think about the impacts that this may have, and the way that it feels to read about these kinds of things when you're a fat person, especially if you're from a different marginalized identity. And my fellow queer folks, I hope you will recognize this for what it is. This is 1000% a bury your gays. Don't let them get away with this just because they're using fatness as the way to have the death. And like, if you when you talk about the bury your gaysness of it, try and do it in a way that's not stigmatizing fat. Let's try and like show up for each other. Shouldn't, because we are part of the queer community, and we don't deserve to be buried either. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to make sense of this in the edit, but this is my feelings after reading this thing.